This episode is brought to you by Unstoppable. Discover the inspiring true story about Anthony Robles, who defied every expectation to become a national wrestling champion in Unstoppable, a new original movie from Amazon MGM Studios and director William Goldenberg, evoking the excitement and camaraderie of classic sports dramas and thrilling wrestling matches. Unstoppable features an all-star ensemble cast, including Jarrell Jerome, Jennifer Lopez, Don Cheadle, Michael Pena, and Bobby Cannavale. Unstoppable is streaming exclusively on Prime Video January 16th.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
When we started writing our thoughts down on paper, it opened up endless possibilities. Ideas could grow beyond the borders of the mind, and it changed the world. Somewhere along the way, we lost touch with paper, distracted by devices made for every purpose except thinking and focus. On edge, waiting for the next notification. But what if new technology didn't pull us away from paper, but brought us closer to it? Listen. That's not paper. It's the sound of the new Remarkable Paper Pro, rewriting the future. A paper tablet with a true color ink display, gentle reading light, and unheard of tactility, with digital features for taking notes, thinking, and organizing, without any distractions. Paper is about to change the world again. Get your paper tablet at Remarkable.com today.
Welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion, the podcast for cricket and horse racing fans. I'm your host, Stephen Wallace, and today we bring you the final episode in our countdown to the Women's Ashes. My guest is Sue Strachan, an ex-president of Cricket Scotland and a Scotland and FairBreak team manager. Sue reflects on Scotland's debut at the 2024 ICC T20 World Cup, shares her thoughts on their next challenge, and looks ahead to the Women's Ashes. She highlights the key players, areas that could shape the series, and her hopes for 3 weeks of exciting cricket. Hello, Sue. Welcome back to the Paddock and the Pavilion.
Good evening, Stephen. Lovely to speak to you.
Well, we're going to talk about the Women's Ashes, but to start with, I must get your thoughts on the 2024 Women's T20 World Cup, where you were there with Scotland.
I was. What an amazing experience it was as somebody who's been involved with Scottish women's cricket for such a long time. To actually be there on the world stage with the best 10 teams in the world was just incredible, and a real reward for the hard work that's been put in by all the people that came before the players that are there now and by the players now. So it was an incredible experience, very emotional. That first game against Bangladesh, singing Flower of Scotland, was incredibly emotional.
So it really was a culmination of efforts over many years then?
Well, I wouldn't say it's a culmination. I would say it's the next step. So we have felt a little bit like we've been in a holding pattern over Heathrow. For the last few years, we kept almost making it and not quite, and just falling at the last hurdle. And then this time we put the games together in the qualifiers that were needed. It's always tough, people from the bigger nations won't understand how difficult it is to qualify when you're not given automatic qualification. T20 cricket, given day, anything can happen. And so if you have qualifiers, every single game, every single ball matters. And so to actually get there was incredible, but it's very much a stepping stone as far as we're concerned. It's a step into the next phase of Scottish women's cricket. And I think my concern before we went quietly, just within myself, was that step might be a step too far for us at this point, but absolutely it wasn't. Yes, we didn't win a game. We were close against Bangladesh and the heat just just got the better of many of our players, but we were touching distance. We weren't that far away. And so to get to that stage and then to find that the gap isn't as big as it might have been is amazing, despite the way world cricket is organised, which appears to be to try and keep the gap as big as possible. We're bridging that gap and we are very ready for the next stage.
16 runs in that first game against Bangladesh. If that had been, say, Scotland's second or third game, could it have been even closer?
I think so, yeah. I think we were pretty unlucky with our draw. So perhaps it's not having a seat at the table, but we had 3-day games. With the first day game against Bangladesh, and it was 38 degrees on the temperature forecast, but somebody had a sensor, 46 degrees in the stadium, and we lost the toss, as Catherine Price often does, and we ended up out there in the field for a couple of hours in the blazing hot sun. And at one point, we had 3 fielders off and 3 sub-fielders on, just because of the effects of heat. So it meant that our batting innings was not the best batting that we could do, I think. And I think if you gave us that game again, then the result may be very different. But, that's the way things are. That's tournament cricket. You just have to just learn from it, move on.
But great learnings for the players.
Oh, fabulous, yes.
And players playing in the WBBL and the IPL or Women's Premier League as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's been great to watch Catherine and Sarah Bryce both playing in the regular first 11 in their WBBL teams and really putting performances in that everybody can be proud of, not playing as international players and actually making their mark, and that's been fabulous. But below them, also, the next group of players are really developing, and I think this is, as I say, it's just the beginning of the next step for us. I'm very excited about the future.
And the future must include the 2026 T20 World Cup in England.
Yes, absolutely. The future first includes, hopefully, qualification for the 50-over World Cup. So we've got a global qualifier at some point in the spring, but the ICC haven't told us yet when or where. And the spring's quite soon, really. But anyway, so we have a global qualifier, and it'll be a difficult one, as global qualifiers always are. I think there's 8 teams and 2 qualify. But we think that we can play good enough cricket, despite the fact that we've not been included in the women's championship. We think we can play good enough cricket to knock over any of the teams in that tournament. So that's our first aim, qualify for the 50-over World Cup next year, and then qualify for the T20 World Cup in 2026.
Well, best of luck with those two goals, Sue.
Bored with your boring cardio? Stop pedaling that snooze cycle to Nowheresville and try some cardio that's actually fun. Supernatural Fitness, available on MetaQuest. Isn't that right, Jane Fonda?
Cardio will never be boring again.
Sweat to the beat of thousands of chart-topping songs inside stunning virtual landscapes.
Bet your stationary bike can't do that.
Visit GetSupernatural.com and join the next fitness revolution. Supernatural VR Fitness, only on MetaQuest. Rated Teen for Teen.
Joe Montana here. In my football days, I knew the importance of a strong defense. Now I'm sharing how you can help defend your health against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease. Are you 50 or older like me? The CDC now recommends vaccination against pneumococcal disease. Even if you're healthy, your age puts you at increased risk and over 6 times greater risk of hospitalization with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50. Schedule your appointment today at vaxassist.com.
Sponsored by Pfizer.
Let's move on to the Women's Ashes, which begin on the 11th of January.
Yeah.
Do you like the format to start with?
I like the mixed format. I think it's something for everyone. It's maybe not what the purists see as the Ashes, but I think actually that it's moved with modern times. And there'll be some people who want to watch the T20, some people want to watch the 50 over game, and some people who just love Test cricket. And there'll be the same within the playing groups and playing squads as well. So I think it really gives a team the opportunity to show all of their facets, all of their strengths. And I think it's a really exciting format.
I mean, last time, 2023, 8-all. What are your thoughts on who's going to win?
Oh, wow. It would be hard to bet against Australia at this point. I do not take the T20 World Cup, England leaving the same time as we did, as an omen of them not being able to manage in this Ashes. I think that was a blip. Not quite sure what happened. I think they're looking like they're getting themselves together against South Africa, but Australia is a very different kettle of fish. Australia have such strength and depth, and they seem to play with such joy and freedom. And I'm not quite sure if England have quite got that joy and freedom at the moment. Whether they feel judged, I'm not quite sure. But I do feel that the Australian team seem to have the joy. And that takes you a long way in difficult times.
Who do you think are the key players in both sides?
I think it'll be interesting to see if Alyssa Healy is playing. I hugely rate her, but Perry is always going to be important, and she's just playing so well at the moment. Phoebe Litchfield is incredibly exciting, but they also have so many other players. So, Talia McGrath, who's just like a warrior. You've got Megan Shute, who again is just vast experience, knows what to do and when to do it, as well as having that youth coming through. So for Australia, you've got a great mixture of experience and youth, and you've got people with all the skills. For England, I think we've seen the youth coming through. I think maybe the T20 World Cup may have sort of perhaps sent England back to have a bit of a think. I think their depth is perhaps not as good as Australia yet, but I think it will come. I think Cricket Australia have invested massively in the women's game, and I think the ECB need to do the same. It's coming, but I think it's just a little bit behind. I'm really excited by Lauren Filer. I think she's a very exciting bowler. I love watching Danny Wyatt-Hodge bat. She bats, I think Kate Cross said, it's like she doesn't care, but it's not that she doesn't care. She just knows her game so well, and she knows what to do, and she goes out there and she just does it. And I love the simplicity of that. I think Heather Knight is a very smart captain, and I think her captaincy might make the difference. And obviously, Sophie Eccleston is massively important as a bowler, just because she takes wickets and she frustrates people, and she has that variety and accuracy, which is second to none. So I think it's a really interesting Ashes coming up. And I think that England will have gained a lot by being out in South Africa. I think they will have, hopefully, whatever went wrong in the T20 World Cup will have been put to bed, and they will be rebooting and looking to their strengths and really trying to gel this team together. Because I think it hasn't, from the outside, it just hasn't quite looked as together as it possibly could be.
Hopefully it will be all to play for when they get to the day-night test match at the MCG.
Yeah, I mean, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? And what we want, what us women's cricket fans want, is it to go right down to the wire, don't we? We want it to come down to that test match, and we want it to come down to, to Heather Knight's captaincy making a big difference in a test because she's so smart. To somebody just finding the sweet spot on the day and just having an amazing day. And, you know, Tammy Beaumont, as she's shown when she's batting in the ODI, Tammy Beaumont, when she plays with freedom, is an incredibly destructive batter, despite being one so small. And is incredibly fast between the wickets. So, you know, they both have such amazing cricketers. And they both have such an incredible variety of skill. Some of it will come down to the coaching and the selecting, I think. And I think that'll be interesting to see who they select and why. And the selections might be really important, I think. But yeah, I think it's going to be really fun to watch, and it's going to be a great one for us women's cricket fans to watch.
I can tell you're excited. You're going to be getting up early or staying up late in Scotland.
Obviously, yes. I will. I've quite liked the Women's Big Bash because it's like 8 a.m. So I can get up. Now that I'm retired, I can get up and just watch the cricket in the morning. It's fab. Even though it's not light yet in Scotland, then there's lightness for me because I can watch the cricket.
And you can still squeeze a game of squash in after the cricket then, yeah? Yeah,
a game or two, yeah, maybe. Sometimes 3.
So I've got to, for the end, what's your prediction on the score? There's 16 points available. Who's going to win?
I think Australia are going to win. I think they're going to get 10 of the 16.
That's as close as you can get, unless it's 8-all, isn't it? Anyway, so it's going to be close then.
Yeah, I think it's going to be nip and tuck. I hope it's going to be nip and tuck. I hope the best England squad comes out and plays the best English cricket they can, because I think they're going to need to do that. And I hope that the best Australian squad plays the best Australian cricket, because that's just fabulous to watch. And then we will have a real spectacle of women's cricket. And that's what we want, isn't it?
That's all for our Women's Ashes Countdown series. I hope you've enjoyed the 5 episodes this week. It's been a busy one for me, but great fun. You can catch up on all these episodes along with our entire archive on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, or on our YouTube channel. A special thank you to all my guests, Sue Strachan, Jane Powell, Rosa Simpkin of Rosa Talks Ball, Yaz Daswani, John Aaron, Tina Goff and Chloe Hill. Let's hope, as Sue says, it all comes down to that test match at the MCG.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
At your job, do you ever have to deal with a nose roller? How about a snub pulley? Well, if you're installing a new conveyor belt system, dealing with the different components can sound like you're speaking a foreign language. Luckily, you've got a team ready to help. Grainger's technical product specialists are fluent in maintenance, repair, and operations. So whenever you want to talk shop, just reach out. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.